Hi everyone, it's Lisa. I am videotaping from my home today and on behalf of the Paris Bourbon County Library. We hope that you're doing well. We hope that you're healthy. We also hope that you'll come into the library at some point, check out our new materials, and browse a little bit. We do follow our COVID restrictions, so please wear a mask. Today we are going to be making these adorable, they are cute. These are called yo-yos, and in some places on the internet they call them yo-yo flowers, but these are just fabric yo-yos, and I'm going to show you how to make them, and then I'm also going to show you what to do with them once you make them. So typically you're going to find yo-yos are 4-inch or 3-inch. Now I made some smaller and I like them, but it's a little harder to work with. So I've got these circles that have been cut out. I just made a template that was a 4-inch and a 3-inch. And I am going to be using those today for my demonstration. Yo-yos are typically an older form of crafting or sewing. There's a lot of uses for these, and we'll discuss the uses for them here in a few minutes. So let's look at the materials that we're going to need. We are going to need our circles, our fabric circles. And keep in mind, you can use old clothing that you've got at home. This is great for scrap pieces of fabric you've had left over. You're also going to need thread, and this is the one I came up on this morning, so we're going to use it. I don't need pins. For this, later I might need a glue gun, and I'll tell you about that in a few minutes, but definitely you're going to need a pair of scissors, and that is it. So your fabric, your thread, your needle, and your scissors will get you through this project. So what I'm simply going to do, now I'm going to do it the way I was taught to do it, which is to sew on the wrong side and it will gather, and then I'm going to turn it inside out. This could not be easier, even if you're not a seamstress. All you're simply going to do is weave your needle. By the way, before I get too into this, I doubled my thread. I don't necessarily need to double it, but I did this morning. I just put a knot in the very end of it. And I'm going to keep going in and out all the way around. Just back and forth on the end of your needle. And if it gets too much for you to handle with one hand, then you can go ahead and pull it through, as I just did. In and out. I hope you're enjoying this beautiful spring day that we've got. I think everyone is ready for spring. I use cotton fabrics for my yo-yos. Almost to the end. Try to keep your stitches as even as you can. There is a kit available for it, but it only is the I have a lot of these discs already cut out, the fabric, so I'm going to put some of those in a Ziploc, and those are available for you if you'd like to pick those up at the library. Now at the very end here, I'm just going to pull it, but pull it loosely. Now you'll notice it's inside out, so all I'm going to do is turn that right side out. I'm going to manipulate it just a little bit. And gently pull. And that gives us our yo-yo. Now, all I'm going to do to secure this is take the end of my thread, and I'm going to make a couple of stitches through, and that's going to anchor my thread and keep it from coming apart. And there we go. And that is how to make a fabric yo-yo, or in cases that I've seen, the yo-yo flower. Now, what do you do with these when you get them done? Because I have a lot, and I have done several things with them in the past, but I want to show you how to connect them and make, not necessarily a banner, but a little bit of swag. So what I have done is I have already connected my yellow and blue palette here. We've got some yellows, blues, and so forth, which I really like, especially this time of the year. But how did I get them together? Well, that's super simple. I kind of have a pattern going on here. I think I'm ready for this one next. So all I'm simply going to do is to put those on top of each other. I'm going to knot my thread again. I'm going to put those on top of each other, and right on the end here where they would normally, just based on where I've stitched here, I'm going to put maybe 4 stitches here. On my last stitch, I'm going to anchor it just by tying, just by going through my stitch and pulling it. And I'm going to cut it. And there you go. You can see that this has already been stitched together. Now these make great little swags, especially if you are having in your home primitive decor. You could do one with red, white, and blue. You can actually attach these to a ribbon. You can do whatever you want to, but this really does not need to be attached to anything. It can actually hold its shape and will make a great little swag for you. Now, let's say that you have just remnant pieces, and that's what this is. These have no method to their madness. They are just small, very tiny ones, larger ones, different colors. We're going to do the same thing on that. Let's go ahead and add this black one to give it a little bit of contrast, and we're putting it right next to a small one. Again, I'm going to need to tie the end of my thread, put a knot in it, and we're going to sew, excuse me, that one right here. Again, 4 stitches probably will be enough. These are not going to be pulled on or yanked on or anything like that, so you're really only going to need about 4 or 5 stitches. That's 3. Let's do one more. And we're going to go right through one of my stitches to anchor it. And we're going to cut. And you can see that this is also a swag, but it has all kinds of different colors, all kinds of different sizes of these as well. Now, I have also, in the past when I was crafting for sale, created a yo-yo, and I've put an antique button in the middle of it. I just stitched that on there, and I took some twine and made some primitive ornaments. So if you know someone, or you yourself have a primitive tree or a primitive decor, this would be perfect on a twig tree, on some of your pencil trees. They would be wonderful. These are adorable. Okay, so let me show you how to create one more piece of art with this. You know, in my mind, if you can frame it, it's art, and we're going to frame this. So I have some already selected there, and I have just this piece of off-white muslin fabric. And I have my picture frame. I will not need the glass. I know several projects I've not needed the glass. I keep it because at some point I'm probably going to need glass. But here's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to take my fabric and open it up. trying to get the less wrinkled part here. Yeah, I believe that's it. And I'm going to trace around it. And cut. You can use any fabric. I think burlap looks good behind this. I have created several picture frames using the yo-yo flowers and burlap, and it looked really good. Okay, now I have my piece of fabric, and notice you can see through it. So I'm going to be putting it right on top of here, but first I'm going to be putting the paper. I'm going to do a little hot gluing here. You could use regular glue if you wanted to, but I'm just using hot glue on my corners here. And I'm going to put this on top of there. And I'm going to do the same thing with this. I'm going to be using 4 corners of hot glue. And that's going to keep my fabric stationary and in place while I add the details. And I may need to trim this up just a little bit before I put it in my frame, but we'll do that in a few moments. Now I have these that I really like. So I think what I'm going to do, what I've done is I've made my yo-yo and I put a vintage button in the middle. Actually, these buttons are from, a lot of them are from the old uniforms at Millersburg Military Institute. I happened upon those buttons. So I like the look of that. Just 2 yo-yos right in the center. Now, before I glued this, I could have stitched these on, but since they're just going to be for decorative purposes, and again, they're so lightweight, I'm just going to put hot glue on the back of them. And place them. Now I'm going to turn this over and trim this up just a bit. I want it to fit in the frame precisely. So let's trim this up. And a little bit up the side here. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in my frame. Smooth that out just a little bit. And there we have our decorative art. Now, I could have put in 3. I could have put 3. That probably actually would have been better. But I didn't have 3 of that same kind. But this is just a fun way of using the leftover fabric that you have, or buttons that you have, and picture frames that you have. So this would be our piece of art. And again, I think if you can frame it, it can be a piece of art. These are our simple yo-yos, fabric yo-yos. I'll put some of them out there for you. Think about trying this at home with scrap fabric that you have. These turned out adorable. I've even got some really tiny ones here. But these turned out adorable. They do, when they're connected, you can make pillow fronts for them. I've even seen them made into coverlets for the bed. A lot of time put into those for the coverlets for the bed, but they do look amazing. I hope you enjoyed this. If you choose to make some of the yo-yos, please give us let us know on Facebook, show us a picture, and we'd be happy to share that with everyone else. Hope you've enjoyed this. Keep crafting.